My name is Caroline, and today I'm going to be talking to you about our tool, which is the Honda Project Health Dashboard. So, when we talk about this tool, its main focus is to compare different projects with each other according to their health. And when we talk about their health, we are mainly focusing on the relationship between that project's actual cost and its budget. So to start off, over here you can see we can select a model we want to look at. So let's say I want to look at the Cybercar model. We're going to go ahead and click Evaluate, and you can see that the budget at completion is going to be greater than our estimated costs to complete this project. And that tells us that that project is relatively healthy because the they're going to be able to complete that project at a cost less than was actually planned. And down here, you can see that the percent of time that project is going to be over budget is only 32.14. Because these numbers are relatively healthy, that's going to show up in blue. But when we look over here at the Cyberboat, that's going to be red because the costs to complete are going to be above budget and the percentage of time the project is over budget is a little bit higher. Now, if we come over here and look at CPI, this is our earned value compared with our actual cost. And over here, you can choose which projects you want to actually compare with each other. And now with each of these projects, what we want is for that graph to be at 1 or close to 1, because when it's equal to 1, that means that the cost of completing the work is going right as scheduled and it's right on that budget. However, if that line is below 1, which a lot of these are, that tells us that the cost of completing the work is greater than was planned, which tells us that that project's over budget. That's a little less healthy than we would like. However, if that line is too far above 1, a little bit above 1 is okay, but if it's too far above 1, that tells us that that budget might be a little bit unrealistic and might not have been made well. So now I'm going to pass it off to Katie to talk a little bit more about our tool.
Thank you, Caroline. So as we scroll down, we can take a look at 3 different types of graphs. And each of these graphs we're able to change based on the selections in the middle. So the first thing we can select is the time frame we want to look at. So we can choose which month we want to look at, to what month we want to end at. And next to that, we can look at the different milestones. So we can select just one, or we can select all 5, or 2, whatever you want to take a look at. Next to that, we can select which model we want to be looking at. And these 3 combinations will change our graphs based on our selections. So looking at the first graph above our selections, it is the actual cost versus the budgeted amount comparison. And if the data is, if it's under budget, we see a blue bar and a positive amount. If it's like about right on budget, it's right even with that 0 line. And if it's over budget, we see the white bars and negative values showing us how much over budget we are. Taking a look at the next graph, we are comparing earned value to planned value to actual cost. And in this one, we see that the earned value is above the planned value and actual cost, indicating good project health. And then taking a look at the work scheduled versus work performed, the blue bars show us the percent of work scheduled to be performed, and then the orange line tells us the work that was actually performed. And in this case, the work actually performed, the percentage work of actually performed is greater than the work scheduled, also indicating good project health. If we continue down, we can take an even deeper look into how these projects are doing by looking at some sub-targets. On the left, we get to select which model we want to take a look at. And then we can choose what phase of that model we want to be looking at. And clicking the button provides us with a graph that compares the total completion to what was required to be completed. And then to take an even closer look at what departments might be responsible for being behind or whatnot, we can type in some information on the other side, choosing the model we're looking at. So in this case, we're looking at model number 3, what target we want to look at. So the total completed is much less than the required for target A3. So we'll look at that for sub-target 2. So when we enter all that information, it tells us that the departments responsible for this are assembly and vehicle quality. So that would give Honda information to know what departments to look into of why they're having issues. But overall, this is our tool, and it gives Honda a lot of different ways to look at the project health and ways to compare the different models and phases that they are in.